Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another TTC episode. Today I have my husband Dean with me.
What's up?
Some of you may not have met him before, but here he is.
I was a regular on Catching Up with Conte.
Yeah, so Dean and I have been married for coming up 5 years next month.
March. Yep.
I thought I would bring him on this, well, he's on this journey with me. I mentioned it in one of the other videos that it's not often that you hear from the man's perspective on infertility, so I thought it'd be really good for you to share your side of the story.
Yeah,
and how you feel and everything. I've got a few questions to ask, but did you want to start off by saying anything? Or?
Oh look, it's yeah, I mean everybody's journey's probably unique to each other, but then again there's probably a lot of similarities for everybody as well, so I know, I think what I say might touch a lot of people out there and a lot of guys out there that might be going through it and yeah, so
yeah,
I guess, you know, it's probably good just to talk about it and, you know.
Oh my god, Coco just came in, she just yawned.
Get Coco involved somehow, you know. She's
doing her roll over there, can you see it?
Makes it hard just living sometimes with her.
Yeah, I think exactly, like, you know, the main point of this series is to you know, make you feel that you're not alone, to have someone that you feel like.
Here's what I found on the web is to make you feel that you're not alone. And
yeah, to have someone to relate to. I think that that's really important. I know for me, I've been through a lot of this journey. I feel like even though I've had you with me, I've been going through it by myself. Of course I've had friends and everything to talk to, but quite often you just want to talk to, or you just want to watch a video of someone who's in the exact same situation because they can relate to you and you can relate to them. And Coco's like, I can relate to you. No, oh, she's still doing a roll. So yeah, that's why you're here today.
So you're straight into questions for me, are you?
Yeah, so...
And where'd these questions come from?
I just made them up.
Okay, there we go.
I'm gonna start with something a little bit like off topic. When were you ready to start a family?
Well, I think, well, I was ready. I mean, we got married, yeah, 5 years ago. And I think after being married, I was pretty open to the idea of having children then. But we had a lot of plans, so I was pretty happy that we didn't start straight away. But I mean, you know, I think it was probably, I don't know, it was probably after about, yeah, it's probably a year or two after being married. I was in my head, I thought, you know, I want to have kids now, you know, but I knew, you know, you didn't want to at that time. Coco didn't want to.
Yeah, Coco definitely doesn't want to.
You know, like she's still complaining about it. But, you know, like it was probably, you know, that year, 2 years after I was ready. But then, you know, we wanted to build this house and we wanted to go on holidays. And, you know, I think they're not getting in the way, but it was, your focus were on, you know, different things. So, yeah, so I would say, you know, it was probably a year or two after being married, so.
Yeah, I told them in another episode, like when the moment that I realized that I was ready, and I said it was when you were away camping and when we were at the rental, and I remember just sitting on the bed in the rental and I called you and I said, I'm ready. I think it was like March,
yeah, it was
the
March.
First Cod Classic trip that you did.
2 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And it just makes me think, like I was thinking about that the other day because I edited the episode where I told them and I said, oh, it's about 2.5 years ago, and now I'm like 3 years ago. But anyway, we all have different timelines and everything. It's hard because you both have to be ready to start a family. Like that's really important. And I feel like from a woman's perspective, there's a lot more that I have to, in a sense, give up when I'm ready to start a family. It's not very often that the man takes, you know, leave to look after the baby. It's more often the woman takes a year off to look after the kids, like of working definitely. And things like that. And I wasn't ready for my life to change in that sense at that stage until then.
How's Coco? She's literally just perched herself right in view of the camera. Could have been either side behind one of us, but no.
So before you were ready and before we started trying, how did you deal with the outside pressure from people asking you about starting a family? I
mean, you know, like probably there was close people that asked semi-regularly. Wasn't all the time. And then there was probably other people that, you know, they'd ask just because, you know, oh, you know, you got married. a while ago, or you're going to be having kids, and for those people it was probably easier because you're like, oh yeah, it'll happen, it's going to happen, it's going to be, we got a bit of a timeline, as I said, like renting, well, we had a house, we were renting, we knew we wanted to build and all those sorts of things, so it's pretty easy. But for the ones that are asking you more regularly, probably a little bit closer to you, and then as well as probably people that are close to you and they're having children as well, you sort of like, they're asking you, that pressure was probably a little bit more. I mean, I probably deal with most things in life probably, fairly easily. I can brush off a lot of things, move on, get over it, is what it is,
We deal with things like this very differently. Like, but, I took a lot of it to heart.
Yeah.
Whereas you could just brush it off really easily.
Yeah, that's me. But I think I dealt with it all right. I didn't feel that there was too much pressure. I don't think there was ever any time that there was pressure. The pressure probably came from our conversations where you were feeling the pressure because people were asking. So then I felt like not a direct pressure, but it was like that indirect pressure from you. So not that like it was okay because we dealt with that pressure together. But for myself it probably wasn't all that bad. So. And
how do you feel the pressure has changed now that we have started trying to conceive, or we are trying to conceive, but the pressure that, do you put any on yourself, or? No,
like I remember like at the start I was thinking, oh, it'll happen, when it happens, and then all of a sudden it was 3 months, 4 or 5 months, and then all of a sudden we saw a specialist and you think, well, all right, there's pressure of it, it's not happening, and then I think, well, okay, so again, I was fine. I'm thinking, the specialist saying, all right, it'll happen, we'll just go through these steps and everything. You think, all right, so we got a few months ahead of us of a few steps, and again, probably wasn't too bad for me. Again, indirect pressure from you because you're feeling that your full frontal pressure that you're having flows into me. It's in recent months it's progressed up a little bit more, but it's probably not even, I wouldn't even say it's pressure, it's probably more so the reality of it not happening. Yeah, is what is affecting me. Like I can't say I'm feeling much pressure from not having it, and people asking me and things like that. I'm just like, if they ask, it's not pressure, it's just more like, it's not happening. And perhaps you don't feel the pressure because you're all good. Yeah. Whereas, like, there's obviously something wrong with me, hence why I am putting so much pressure on myself. What questions or statements really annoy you? So, for example, I really hate when people are like, oh, just go on a holiday, you just need to relax. I think a lot of people say, you've just got to stress less. And like for me, I'm not really stressed, but I tell Crystal to stress less. Have you ever tried telling someone that's stressed to stress less? Like, it doesn't work. Like, it literally doesn't work. Like, hey, stress less. No, like, no, I'm stressed. Like, so I don't say it. I don't think I've ever said, hey, you just gotta, look, I've probably have said, like, the goal is to stress less and figure out a way to try and stress less, but I've never just gone, oh, just stress less about it. But, I feel like, and I've talked about this before, but, and I watched someone else's video, and things like that, they're just a very vanilla thing to say. Yeah. So how, a lot of people like vanilla, like it's just a thing to say. It's just, a statement to say. And perhaps they say it because they don't know what else to say. They've never been in that position. Yeah. But it's like, for anyone, whether they're trying to conceive or doing something else, you shouldn't tell them to stress less. Like, look, it's like, obviously, you don't want to stress. How do you stay positive? Look, I'm just like pretty positive all the time. I know you are, it really annoys me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not much really gets me down. Like, even if something does, I'm just like, oh well, I got to move on. Like, is that a healthy thing? I don't know. Maybe it's good. Maybe it's not. People agree to disagree, but I think it's probably the way I've been brought up. And how I've dealt with everything thrown my way in the past. I reckon as a kid I used to get really down about things all the time. Like whatever it may have been. You're always upset about a lot of things. And then, I think then that later teenage life of then dealing with it, then it was just sort of like, I don't know, come out, being more positive. I don't know how to be more positive because I sort of just do it, but I guess, you know, like, again, it's hard to just tell someone, don't be negative, you know, like if you're upset and you're negative, well, don't be negative, like, you know, you can't tell someone to do it, but you just sort of got to move
how do you feel after every month when we're not pregnant? Like, how do you stay positive after every month?
Well, like, as I said, the first 6 months I was probably like, it didn't even register.
Yeah, same.
Probably 9 months, you know, what are we into now, like...
It's 13.
13 months, yes. It was 6 months not trying, okay, and then we tried the letrozole, and alright, well, that'll work, you know, and then, like, so for the next few months, you know, so it was only sort of like towards the end of last year, and you're like, oh, you know, like, this isn't right, so, you know, how do you stay positive through that? Well, you know, I guess it was getting harder towards the end of Christmas and things like that, and then, you know, I think going back to see the obstetrician last week was good.
A couple of weeks
ago. I think that was really good as well because we sort of reformulated a plan. So, but yeah, I guess I think that's probably a big tip is, you know, you can't, you know, I think you got to continue that support. You know, I think we sort of probably maybe, or I feel that, you know, like we may have dropped a bit ball there where we went on and we got help and then we went out on our own, and we probably just out on our own for too long, because then all of a sudden the thoughts come in of, oh, what am I doing wrong and all this, and maybe I'll try that, maybe I'll try that, and you know, and you start getting lost in, maybe we should have been, you know, back into the obstetrician, you know, like late last year, but, you know, I mean, you have Christmas, New Year's, January, you know, like, so you're in that time where, yeah, you know, like, that we had you know, there's probably a lot of things going on, and we're just like, righto, and then, you know, I think we come out of that going, we need to go see him. So, you know, I don't know about you, but I walked out of there again going, you know, no more confident that it's going to happen, but just more comfortable that we had a plan and we're sort of on track. Yeah. So I would say, you know, you need to just continue to have support from somewhere, whether it's an obstetrician or you're talking to someone,
a psychologist or your GP.
Something. GP, yeah. you got some form of support, because you're probably going to get lost somewhere along the way.
Yeah, that's a good thing to say, yeah. How do you feel when you get the news that others are pregnant?
Again, like 9 months of hearing it, and you're just happy for everyone and all that, and you know, it's been fine, but then you see it everywhere all the time. You know, I'm 32 now, you know, like, you're around that age where, you know, probably for the last few years and for the next few years, you know, because I know people probably a little bit older, a little bit younger, that you're just consistently going to see it. It just seems to be that age between the ages of, you know, like 18 and 25, it was just rare. You didn't see it. But, you know, like right now, you know, whether or not it's our generation, our direct generation is more in that in this current age group for it.
How does it make you feel?
Yeah, I think, you know, like now it's you know, it gets a little bit harder. You see it. Like, I mean, I don't get upset. I don't get angry. I'm not like, you know, I don't think I get jealous. It's just again like, oh, another person. Oh, we're not pregnant. You know, like, you go, oh, that's upsetting. For me, it probably doesn't last long. It comes in my mind. I'd process it within a few minutes, and then it's out, and I'm thinking of something else. It comes into my mind, then I just go, righto. Start thinking about something positive, you know, whatever it may be, whether it be, you know, what we're doing in our relationship, what if with something at work, or what one of my goals is, or whatever it is. That's probably how I stay positive. It's, you know, probably something that I do. That would be what I do. As soon as something starts getting me down, it's like, righto, what can pick me back up within my own mind? So, yeah. And I just do it instantly. So
we talked about how, you know, people would ask us before. How do you feel when people ask you now how it's going? People that know that you're having problems, or the people that don't even know. Yeah,
I don't like I've told some people exactly where we're at. You know, there's, you know, the probably level of friendship of exactly where we're at, and family. You know, and then sometimes you hold off on some details, you know, and then you feel comfortable to release them. I think, yeah, and then there's, yeah, then again there's that outer layer of people that know, and you know, they'll ask us, and you know, you probably give them a different answer. So I think, you know, month by month now it's getting harder. You know, you go, someone asks, and it's sort of like, oh, I've got to tell this person, you know, like where we're at. And that's depending on the person who it is. You know, if it's someone that's been along that, you know, journey with me and I'm telling them, then it's sort of like I'm happy to just rattle it off. You know, if they ask, I'll say it. You know, if it's the, you know, that next layer of sort of friendship, family, you sort of just say, oh, you know, that more broader answer. And they're probably the harder ones as well, because you feel like you're not lying to them, but you're not being truthful. You're not telling them. You're not telling them you're upset if you're upset, or you're frustrated or angry or whatever it is, you know. And then if it's the I feel it's easy to tell the people that I've been telling everything to, because you're just like, well, they know where you're up to, so you're just like, oh yeah, we're up to trying to conceive, you know, or Crystal's taking the medication, or we're waiting on a result, or whatever it is, and you sort of, and then without saying anything, you know that they understand. Like, there's no more questions. So as soon as you've told them, it's just like, they're like, oh, okay, oh, well, you know, hopefully that's all, and that's the end of it. Whereas the other people, you know, like, oh yeah, we're still trying. You know, they're in their mind like, oh, you know, they're probably like another 30 questions ready to roll, but you never get them. But you know, like, you can just tell that they would want to ask.
Have you had a conversation with someone who has been down the same path as us, so that understands when you say, oh, Crystal's taking letrozole, have you had to explain it to everyone what we've been through?
No, I'd probably explain it to more people than what, you know, people have had these instances. Whether or not guys want to say it or don't want to say it, you know, that's probably another big thing, you know. And initially, you know, you say you're trying, no one says anything, but then all of a sudden, I said to a few guys, like, having a bit of trouble, and they go, oh, really? Oh, me and my partner had a lot of trouble. You know, like one guy, he's about 10 years older than me, and he said, yeah, we had to go through IVF, we couldn't do it, we had to do this, and I was just like, shit, you just, you know, I knew he had a couple of kids.
But you didn't know what he went through to get them.
And then he was like, oh, I know exactly what you get. And, you know, for this guy, it was just like this conversation that I'd never think we would have ever had. And then you're having it, you know, so it was actually really good. And then we've probably spoken once or twice again afterwards, but, you know, it's the same sort of thing, like, oh, you'll get there, and it's always saying, I know what you're going through and this is where you're at, and you go, oh, straight away you're like, oh, it's, you know, that same thing. And another guy, very similar age to me, he had the same, exactly the same thing. He probably, you know, like I can't remember what stage they got up to. I think they might have to do the letrozole. I'm not sure if they'd have the procedure done, but yeah, that was the same too. And I've had a few conversations with him, and he just says, yeah, look, I don't know, I think it's good talking to them people. And
yeah, that's really great that you
I haven't had many
come across people that have been in the same situation.
And then there's, you know, like, then you sort of, you get the, you know, that a lot of people that may just ask, oh, how are you going with it? And, you know, that first time they've asked, they'll go, oh yeah, you know, this person, you know, my son, or, you know, someone that they know of had a lot of issues, and it took them a while, and they've gone down this path and they got to this stage, then it happened and everything like that. So, you know, I think more talking about it is probably more regular now with a lot of people, and which is a good thing. And I think it needs to be out there. It's not this secret thing that, you know, like, obviously it's not just, it's been happening for forever.
Yeah.
You know, and it affects a large percentage of people. It's not just that one random person you hear about, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. What has been the hardest part so far?
Look, I think, you know, like, every month, you know, the whole, oh, it didn't happen, you know, like, that's probably got to be, it's just that monthly kick in the guts that you don't want. And I probably go, oh, it didn't happen, oh, okay, and no emotion, no, you know, don't, like, oh, you know, I'll say whatever I say, and we have whatever discussion we have, but I'll walk away, and then, you know, like, I'm sitting there for however long and upset, you know, not, I don't know, like, yeah, I'm upset, yeah, that just happens. Again, I'll probably turn it around pretty quickly and try and push it out and go, righto, next month, let's go, and move on. But yeah, you know, there's that monthly kick in the guts that you sort of just 13 months of like, oh, this is crap.
The worst part is, like, you have to wait another month.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, it's not even like, oh, let's have another go. It's like, right, yeah, you've got your period, then you can take the letrozole, and you've got to wait till these days, and then you do it, and then you're like, now we got to wait until, you know, we can test and all these things, and you think, well, yeah, for it to all happen all over again, you know, like,
Yeah. Do you have any advice for other men going through something similar?
You both need to be on the same page. You need to talk about it regularly. And I think, I mean, you know, if any relationship would be in that situation where you would be talking about it. But I think you need to make sure that you support each other, and then you need to make sure that if one's down, you know, what is the support that you need? Because, you know, my support is not always everything Crystal needs at the time, you know. There was times where, you know, like I had to try and push Crystal into talking to a friend, you know, get a friend over, go ring a friend, message a friend, do, you know, like just get it going, because, you know, like what I can provide isn't enough, isn't working, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just how it is. Like, you know, I don't have the magic words for every scenario when Chris is not feeling down, you know. So booking in to go see the obstetrician, you know, like I was sort of like, yes, we need to do that, you know, like that other support that is out there, you know, finding those avenues, whatever it may be that works for you, you know, that whether or not you go see a therapist and you go together or you don't, or, you know, you go, I know somebody's told me that their partner goes and sees someone, just not related to pregnancy or anything, but just to go and speak to someone for life, you know. And I think, and they're so much better for it. And I just think, you know, like, if that's what someone needs, you know, if something's what somebody needs, you should do that, you know, and you need to identify it and roll with it. And
there's no shame in asking for help. And I should also mention that if you're in Australia, you can get a mental health plan from your GP. You fill out a form and then they can give you, I think it's up to 12 sessions free, which is a really positive thing. So, you know, if you are there, if, you know, male or female, you can get help if you need it. If you're going through something like this, don't think that it's not important enough to have that help, because it is.
I'm in a Facebook group, and it's open to the public, and there's a lot of members in there, and there's a lot of, you know, the you know, bullshit and the jokes and everything. But then, you know, all of a sudden there's posts with, you know, with guys with real problems. You know, there's so many comments. There'll be 1,000, 2,000 comments about just words of advice, or where to go, or, you know, how to get through, or whatever it is, you know, like, you know, it's just, even if you find them avenues, and I think reading them as well, whether or not it's just it could be an issue, nothing to do with me or anything that I've ever experienced, but it sort of picks you up in a way, because you're like, oh, there's someone that's having an issue, and they've put it out there. Whether, look, I'm probably someone that will never ever write it down, but, you know, to read it and, you know, see the comments back of what, you know, people are saying and everything, you know, it would hopefully, it builds me back up, and it's nothing to do with me, you know. But I'd imagine it would really hopefully build back the person that has posted it, you know, and go, oh, shit, you know. The depression is massive in our society, you know. It's, you know, it is massive in men and women, you know, but in this page, you know, like it's really tackling that, you know, depression in men, and trying to talk about it, and no one's alone, and everyone should talk to someone and seek help, and all those sorts of things. I think, you know, if you are in that situation, you just ring someone right now. Like, you just go and do it. Like, just go, I've got nothing to lose. Just, you ring them and you do it. Again, that might be really easy for me to say, like, yeah, just go do it. But, you know, like, stress less. But, you know, like, that's just like, this isn't just like a stress less moment. It's like, no, mate, pick that phone up right now and ring someone. Like, you just got to do it. So, but
I think, you know, for those people that are watching this, just hearing that might be enough for them to think, shit, I do need help. That's the aim of this video, to do that. You have been through a sperm analysis.
Oh, yeah.
How did that go? How did you feel throughout that process?
I've always thought, you know, you hear about, you know, people got to do a sperm analysis, or, you know, we know someone that had have a tumour or something. Well, someone had a cancer, and they had to go, and, you know, they were going to get radiation, chemotherapy, whatever it was, and they actually had to go and do a sperm donation, just to, you know, make sure, just in case they went sterile. So you hear about it, and you're just like, oh, you know, I don't want to do that, you know, how awkward, you know. And like, you always hear stories about, you know, they go into the room and they get the magazine, and it's just like, you know, like all this. And I'm just like, I really don't want to do that. Anyway, so we're at the obstetrician, and he's like, we're going to, you know, straight off the bat, like the first time we saw him, he's like, you've got to do this to Crystal. And to me, he's like, and we're going to do this straight away for you, because we just need to rule it out. And I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, yeah, well, this makes 100% sense. Like, it just makes sense. So no dramas. And he goes, I'll give you a cup. And as he's saying, I'm like, now? You want me to just knock one out right now? I'm like, all right. And anyway, he runs me through the process. He's like, take the cup and this form home and do it at home. And then he gave me the instructions, like, you had to do it before a certain time to get it in there and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, because you have to take it to the clinic within a certain time.
Yeah, you got to do it and get it to the clinic straight away. And I'm just like, all good. I get to do it at home, you know, like, so it's all fine. I'm comfortable. It's all good, you know.
But you couldn't have ejaculated, what, 2 days before?
It was 2 or 3 days beforehand. So I was, no, I was all fine. It was all good. So I think you were at work.
The first time.
The first time. So I was all just like, all good. Like, I was just like, I'm going home. I'm doing this. I just get to just take me time and get it done. So like, I did it. All right, you know, package it up. All good, you know, like that. You got the jar. You got a Glad
snap bag,
you know, put that in there. And then it was like a white paper bag. So, you know, like you get to put it in that. So you're not just like walking into the bloody thing like, you know, I got this. Anyway, so I went in there, took it to the place, and I just sort of had it in my hand. And I'm like, and she's like, just take a number and wait. And I'm like, and I'm in this waiting room with like 10 people. I'm just like, righto, I got sperm in my hand. Cool, you know?
In public.
In public. These people, they don't know, but I know. You know what I mean? Like, hey, how you going? Yeah, I've got me sperm, you know? So I sit down, 10 minutes later, she's like, number 5. I'm like, cool. G'day, I'm just here to drop off sperm. She's like, oh, why didn't you say? You know, we just take that, you know? Like, you don't want to be hanging on to that. I'm like, no, I don't want to be hanging on to it. And she's like, right, anyway. And she'd be 60, right? And I'm like, just dropping it off, all good, yep, got your paperwork. She's like, yeah, just sign here. And she's pulled it out, held it right up, and she's like, Rodeo, this is all good. I'm like, oh, fuck it, everyone's looking. I'm like, oh my, yep, thanks for that. And she's like, puts it down, and she's just like, all good, you know? So I was just like, yeah, got out of there pretty quick. And but it was fine. Like I like doing it, all that. It was all fine right up until being in that waiting room. I reckon. It was just like, oh. Anyway, I had to do it again because they come back and they said there's only like 3% of your sperm is useful. Like that's just, you know, however it works out. And I had about 2% in this one.
There's 3 things that they look for, isn't there?
Yeah. There's the shape of it, how many there are, and I think how fast
the speed of them or whatever.
I think it was just the amount, so they're like, shape's fine, they're moving around.
No, it was the shape. Because I looked back, I edited my thing and it was your shape, I said.
Shape, really?
Yeah.
Anyway, so they said, oh, we'll do it again. So, did it all again. All except Crystal was home this time. So, I think I was just like, well, what are you doing? Oh, yep. Gotta go to the toilet right now, you know? So I'm just like, did it, come out, and Chris was like, on the couch, she's like, you did it, didn't you? I'm like, yes, like, well done, you got me, you know? Anyway, took it back there, and I'm like, yeah, just straight up, I wasn't taking a number this time. I'm like, g'day, I'm here to just put in a sperm sample. And she's like, oh yeah, no worries. Yeah, put it in. She's like, yeah, no worries. And she this time didn't take it out of the bag, didn't look at it. She's like, yeah, no worries, just sign in. I'm like, oh, cool. See you later. I'm like, why was the first lady just going, oh, let's have a look. This is good, you know? Anyway, I guess they need to get some enjoyment out of their day. We went back and saw him and he was just like, yeah, there's no dramas. And that happened. Apparently it happens, and they said if you get a good positive test, you know, you maybe had an off day, you know. I'm just like, yeah. So, that was it. Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Oh, look, I don't know. I think, again, like, our journey is our journey, and I think we will get there in the end. You know, I think you need to have a positive outlook about it, because if you don't, well then, yeah, it's going to make it a very hard journey. You need to get a plan, you need to get support. We'll get there in the end, and we're going to be good for it, and have our little family.
Hopefully. Did you think it would take this long?
No. I thought, you know, by the time we saw the obstetrician, I thought, oh, a few months from now we'll be right. We'll be all good. You know, that was probably August, September, October last year. It's now February and still going. What are my thoughts like now? Like, you know, it's sort of hard to go, oh yeah, next month it could happen, because you're just like, probably won't. I don't think that changes the chances of it happening.
No.
Like, you know, like you can think that it is going to happen. It is what it is. So having that plan, talking to the obstetrician, I think we just follow it and we stick to it, and yeah, hopefully get the answers we need and get the result.
Well, thank you so much for joining me with this episode.
That's all right.
And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you know, felt that you could relate to us, and yeah.
I think that, you know, you need to put your questions down below as well, or comments or whatever, and I'll go through them with Crystal, and there may be something that I can answer.
And we wish you the best of luck with your TTC journey, and hopefully your baby comes soon. Okay, thanks guys.
See you later.
Bye.